The Earth stood still, a planet of quiet wonder in the vastness of space. For centuries, humanity had lived its life in relative peace, unaware of the greater dangers lurking beyond its atmosphere. The skies were blue, the oceans calm, and the land, for the most part, peaceful. But far from Earth, in the depths of the universe, a storm was brewing. Across the galaxy, a powerful alien fleet was heading toward Earth. These aliens, with their advanced technology and vast armies, had conquered countless worlds. To them, Earth was nothing more than a primitive, defenseless speck in the vast expanse of space. They believed that their mission to destroy humanity would be an easy one, just another conquest in their long history. The alien fleet, led by Commander Xylar, had gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system. Their ships, massive and imposing, looked like dark shadows against the stars. They hovered in perfect formation, as though preparing to strike. Xylar had no doubt that Earth would fall within hours. The humans, he thought, were too weak, too unprepared. It was only a matter of time before they would submit to their superior power. On Earth, life continued as normal. The cities bustled with activity, people going about their business as usual. No one suspected that the fate of the planet was about to change forever. Scientists and governments were focused on their own problems: climate change, resource management, and social unrest. The thought of an alien invasion seemed too far-fetched to be taken seriously. Yet far above them, the alien fleet was gathering, ready to strike. In the quiet of the night, a group of scientists at a top-secret military facility in the Nevada desert were the first to detect the alien ships. Their radar systems, constantly scanning the skies, picked up the sudden appearance of the fleet. The blips on the radar were unlike anything they had ever seen. The ships were enormous, and their speed was unmatched by any human-made technology. Dr. Emily Turner, the lead scientist at the facility, stared at the screen, her heart racing. "This can't be right," she muttered under her breath. She ran the data again, but the results were the same. The alien ships were heading straight for Earth. There was no way to communicate with them, no way to stop them. It was as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The news spread quickly, and emergency meetings were held in secret. Military leaders, scientists, and world leaders were called to discuss the situation. The world's leaders were initially in disbelief. Alien life, coming to Earth. It seemed like something out of a science fiction movie. But as the evidence mounted, reality set in. For the first time in human history, the planet's fate was in the hands of a few. The leaders scrambled to come up with a plan. Should they attempt to communicate? Should they fight? Or was it already too late? Meanwhile, in the quiet corners of Earth, life went on. Farmers tended to their crops, children played in the streets, and workers went about their daily tasks. The average person had no idea of the impending doom. They couldn't know that their world was about to be tested in ways they could never have imagined. And then, as if in response to the gathering darkness in the sky, the first signal arrived. It wasn't a signal from the aliens, but from Earth. A series of coded messages were sent out into the universe. A simple message that humanity was not afraid. Dr. Turner, working late into the night, was the one to send it. She didn't know why, but something inside her told her it was the right thing to do. She was sending a signal, a message of defiance to the aliens who thought they could crush humanity without resistance. The message was simple: we are not afraid. But little did she know, this small act of defiance would set the stage for a battle unlike any Earth had ever seen. Back in space, the alien fleet's commanders were getting ready to make their move. They knew Earth was defenseless, and they were eager to conquer it. Xylar's fleet had been through countless battles, and they had never lost. The idea of facing a world that had never experienced war was laughable to them. They expected to land, destroy any opposition, and take over Earth with ease. But Earth had something the aliens had never accounted for: a resolve like no other species. Though humanity was small, it was not weak. And the message sent out by Dr. Turner was only the first step in a battle that would see the entire galaxy watch in awe as humans fought for their survival. As Earth's leaders prepared for the worst, a sense of determination spread across the globe. The people of Earth were united in their fear and their hope. They didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was certain: they would not give up without a fight. The calm before the storm was over. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The alien fleet loomed like a dark shadow, slowly encroaching on Earth's space. For days, the quiet tension among Earth's leaders and scientists continued to build. The world was in a state of fragile anticipation, while the majority of the population still had no idea of the alien threat hanging over them. The few who did were preparing for the worst. However, one thing they hadn't counted on was humanity's spirit. Dr. Turner, along with her team of experts, worked tirelessly in the underground facility in Nevada. She felt a sense of responsibility unlike anything she had ever experienced. It wasn't just about science or saving the Earth. It was about the survival of the human race. Every moment, the clock ticked louder, and the gravity of the situation became heavier. Her thoughts were interrupted when the communication system buzzed. It was a secure transmission from the world leaders. The message was clear: prepare for immediate defense, but expect the worst. The aliens will strike soon. The world leaders had already begun coordinating efforts to unify Earth's response. The militaries were put on high alert, while civilians were advised to stay indoors. It was a coordinated chaos. Everyone knew that they were entering a new chapter of human history, and no one could predict what would happen next. But even with all the military readiness, there was a strange feeling in the air. Something in the heart of humanity that couldn't be measured or quantified. Resilience. Earth had faced struggles in its past, from natural disasters to wars, and yet it had always managed to survive. Now, faced with an existential threat, Earth's population wasn't bowing down in fear. Instead, a sense of unity spread across the world. Even the smallest of communities, from the quiet villages to the bustling cities, felt the same surge of energy, a collective realization that they had no choice but to fight for their existence. Across the globe, a similar phenomenon took place. A feeling of hope began to spread like wildfire. People who had never thought much about defending their planet were now banding together, sharing ideas, and finding ways to fight back. The government rallied its military forces, while civilians worked to set up makeshift defense systems. No one knew how they would hold their ground, but they were willing to try. Far from Earth, the alien fleet had completed its final preparations. Commander Xyler stood at the helm of the lead ship, his expression cold and calculating. The Earth's communication efforts had been noted, but he dismissed them with a laugh. To the aliens, the human race was a species far beneath them, a mere footnote in the grand scheme of things. They were ready to annihilate this primitive world in a matter of hours. Their weapons were superior, and their battle experience was unmatched. But there was one thing Xyler didn't expect: the heart of humanity. On the ground, as Earth's leaders gave the signal to prepare for the worst, Dr. Turner had an epiphany. The alien fleet was too large for Earth's military to face alone. It was time for something drastic, something unexpected. Without informing anyone else, she made the call. The message she had sent earlier, the one that signaled humanity's defiance, was not just a message. It was the beginning of a new strategy. The signal, although small in its scope, had not been a simple call for help. It was an invitation to all those who had long thought Earth to be weak. Across the globe, in every corner of the world, humanity began to take action. They didn't wait for help. They took matters into their own hands, using their ingenuity, resourcefulness, and above all, their will to survive. Dr. Turner's quiet message had sparked a fire that spread faster than anyone could have predicted. Back in the alien fleet, Commander Xyler received reports that the humans were preparing a defense unlike anything he had anticipated. He dismissed the reports as mere panic, but as he stared at the growing blips on his radar, something in his gut began to stir. Was Earth really that defenseless? His mind struggled to comprehend the idea of an entire planet fighting back. But it was too late to reconsider. The first shots of the battle were fired as Earth's military launched their first wave of counterattacks, using everything they had at their disposal. The aliens, for the first time, hesitated. The sight of Earth's defense, unexpected and determined, was enough to make even the most seasoned warriors question the certainty of their victory. Xylar ordered his fleet to press forward, but there was a shift in the air. The human battle cry had already been heard. It was loud, it was clear, and it was unyielding. Back on Earth, the citizens of every nation stood firm. They had no special powers, no advanced technologies like the aliens did, but they had something far more dangerous: the will to survive. Their unity was their strength, and in every corner of Earth, they prepared for the long fight ahead. As the first shots echoed through space and across Earth's atmosphere, the fate of humanity was uncertain. Would they stand a chance against the overwhelming alien force? No one could be sure, but one thing was certain: the aliens had underestimated the human spirit. Humanity was not going down without a fight. As the alien fleet advanced, Earth's defenses were in place, but they were still vastly outmatched. The humans had put together a makeshift defense network, using every available resource, from advanced military technology to the creativity of engineers and scientists working around the clock. But against the vastness of the alien fleet, there was a chilling realization. No matter how much they tried, Earth would never be able to defeat the aliens using traditional tactics. Dr. Turner, who had worked tirelessly with the world's best minds, stared at the holographic displays. Each time she looked at the battle map, the alien ships grew closer. Time was running out. Her eyes were bloodshot from exhaustion, but she couldn't afford to rest. Every second mattered. There was something more that the world's leaders hadn't considered, something they had yet to put into action. "I've been thinking," Dr. Turner said, her voice low and weary as she addressed the team in the underground facility. "What if we don't fight them the way they expect?" The room fell silent. General Adams, who had been leading Earth's military efforts, raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, Doctor? We can't just let them walk over us. We need firepower." Turner nodded. "I know, but we need more than just firepower. The aliens don't understand our fight for survival. They're going to expect a conventional battle, one where we try to destroy their ships or take down their leaders. But if we do that, we're playing their game. We need to force them to fight on our terms." The general listened carefully, though he wasn't sure what Turner meant. But Dr. Turner's eyes gleamed with an idea, one that could shift the tide in their favor. Meanwhile, in the skies above Earth, the alien fleet loomed ominously, ready for the final strike. Commander Xylar, confident in the alien technology and their overwhelming numbers, gave the order to initiate the invasion. The first wave of alien ships broke through Earth's atmosphere, releasing their terrifying drones and war machines onto the planet's surface. These creatures, genetically engineered for combat, were their best weapon, designed to wipe out anything in their path. The human military responded immediately, unleashing everything they had. Fighter jets flew in formation, while anti-aircraft missiles fired into the sky, creating a fierce, chaotic battle in the clouds. But despite their bravery, the humans were outmatched. Alien ships hovered overhead, unleashing waves of destruction upon cities and military installations. It was a massacre. Back in the control room, Dr. Turner's plan had already been set into motion. She had enlisted a few military strategists and a team of engineers to carry out the most daring aspect of her strategy, one that no one else dared consider. "Prepare the human signal," she ordered firmly, though her heart raced with nerves. "We need to make them hear us." The signal was a coded message, one that Earth's military had been working on secretly. It was more than just a distress call. It was an invitation, a warning, and a challenge, all rolled into one. The idea behind it was simple but radical. If Earth was going to survive, It needed to make the aliens understand the price of underestimating humanity. As the alien forces pressed forward, Earth's military transmitted the signal into deep space, broadcasting it directly toward the heart of the alien fleet. The message was loud, clear, and carried a powerful primal energy. It was a battle cry, one that resonated with every human who had ever fought for their home, their loved ones, and their survival. For a moment, everything stopped. Even in the midst of destruction, the aliens seemed to hesitate. The eerie silence hung in the air, broken only by the sound of distant explosions. And then, as if responding to the signal, something unexpected happened. A group of smaller alien ships began to retreat, pulling back from the human forces. Commander Xylar stared at the message, his cold, calculating mind struggling to understand what had just occurred. It was impossible. Humans were supposed to be weak. But the signal, the sound of the human battle cry, it was unlike anything he had ever heard before. The fire in the voice of the humans was undeniable. "What is this?" Xylar muttered under his breath. He turned to his officers, his once unwavering confidence now clouded with doubt. What did they send us? The signal reverberated in their minds, and it became clear to Xylar that Earth was not going to simply roll over and accept defeat. In that moment, the aliens realized that they had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated Earth and humanity. On Earth, the signal had achieved something no weapon could. It was the sound of resistance. It was a signal of defiance, of strength, and of hope. Even as the alien drones continued their attacks on the ground, the human spirit had ignited a fire within Earth's defenders, both military and civilian. General Adams saw the retreating alien ships and felt a flicker of hope. "Doctor, your plan. It's working," he said, a hint of disbelief in his voice. "They're retreating." Dr. Turner didn't respond at first. She simply watched the live feed of the alien fleet and their unexpected move. She had seen the fear in their eyes, the moment they understood that humanity could fight back, not just with weapons, but with something far more powerful, their will to survive. This was only the beginning. The battle had just started, and Earth wasn't going to give up without a fight. There would be many more obstacles ahead, but humanity had proven one undeniable fact to the aliens. They were not weak. They were survivors, and they would do whatever it took to defend their home. As the first wave of alien ships retreated into the depths of space, the humans on Earth stood firm. The battle cry that had been heard across the galaxy was not just a sound. It was a message, loud and clear. Humanity would not be conquered. The alien fleet's sudden retreat left Earth's military forces and leaders in a state of stunned disbelief. No one had expected this turn of events. General Adams stood before the holographic map, his eyes scanning the data from all across Earth. Ships that had once appeared unstoppable were now pulling back into deep space, as though the message humanity had sent had cracked their once unshakable confidence. "This can't be real," he muttered to himself, running a hand through his graying hair. "They're retreating. What does it mean?" Dr. Turner stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the same data, her face set in a determined, focused expression. "It means we've done something they didn't think was possible. We've scared them, and we've done it with one simple truth. Humans don't quit." Despite the retreat, the war wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The aliens hadn't given up. They had only paused, recalculating their next move. As much as Earth's people celebrated this victory, the battle was far from over. General Adams knew that the next wave would come harder, faster, and with far more intensity. The brief moment of hope allowed Earth's defenses to take a breath, but it wasn't long before the next wave of alien drones and ships began to emerge from the farthest reaches of space. This time, they were even more prepared. It seemed as if the aliens were not just fighting to win. They were fighting to destroy humanity once and for all. "We need a new strategy," Dr. Turner said, turning to the general. Her voice was steady, but the urgency was evident. We've just shown them that we're not as easy to defeat as they thought. Now we need to make them understand that we're willing to fight to the last." Adams nodded, his mind already working through possibilities. "I'll gather the leaders. We need to prepare for whatever comes next. No more surprises." As the alien fleet regrouped, Commander Xyler stood at the helm of his command ship. His once confident demeanor had been replaced by a mix of anger and confusion. The retreat, the signal, the battle cry. It had all left him rattled. "We underestimated them," Xyler muttered to himself. The alien soldiers who had once looked up to him were now questioning his decisions. There was fear in their eyes, fear that wasn't there before. They had believed the humans to be weak, easy prey. Now they had witnessed firsthand that Earth was not an easy conquest. "What should we do, Commander?" one of his officers asked hesitantly. Xyler turned sharply, his eyes cold with determination. "We will strike again, but this time we will hit them where it hurts most. They have the will to fight, but they have no idea what they are up against." He motioned to the tactical map. "Prepare for a full-scale attack. Earth is not a place we can simply conquer. We will break their resolve with firepower. Their resistance will be crushed." On Earth, the resistance was already growing stronger. The initial shock of the alien invasion had galvanized humanity into action. Every nation, every city, every person had a role to play. Humanity was no longer divided by borders and differences. They were united by one goal: survival. The military forces had reorganized, now operating more cohesively than ever before. Ships that had once been part of Earth's defensive fleet were now on the front lines, engaging with the alien forces in a battle that was unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The fighting was fierce, but Earth's fighters were determined, fueled by the belief that they had the power to fight back. In the underground facilities, Dr. Turner and her team were working tirelessly on the next step. The alien retreat had bought them precious time, but time was running out. Earth needed more than just defense. It needed a counterattack, something that would make the aliens think twice before coming any closer. "We have to do this right," Turner said, her eyes focused on the data in front of her. "They are going to strike hard, but if we can hold out long enough, we'll have a chance to turn this around. We just need to make sure that when they strike, we are ready." Back in the skies, Earth's military had formed a new strategy: guerrilla warfare. With the alien fleet divided and unable to respond to humanity's unpredictability, Earth's fighter pilots began launching daring raids, hitting the enemy where it hurt. It wasn't the traditional way of combat, but it was the only way Earth could keep up. The alien ships were more powerful, but they were not as adaptable as humanity. Every time they thought they had Earth's forces cornered, a new tactic would emerge, a new strategy that threw them off balance. The humans had proven they could think outside the box, and now the aliens were learning that this fight would not be won easily. Dr. Turner, watching the data coming in, couldn't help but smile. "It's working," she said quietly. "We're making them doubt themselves." She turned to General Adams. "Now's the time. We need to hit them where it hurts most. Earth has proven its strength. Now, let's show them the power of humanity's will to survive." The battle between Earth and the alien invaders was only intensifying. The retreat had been a sign that humanity had more strength than the aliens anticipated. But now, the aliens were regrouping, ready to hit back harder. Earth's military forces were responding with newfound resolve, striking back with everything they had. In the coming days, both sides would prepare for the ultimate confrontation. The war had only just begun, but humanity was proving that it would not go down without a fight. With each passing moment, the human battle cry rang out louder across the galaxy, echoing the message that no force in the universe could defeat them. And as the enemy fleet regrouped, preparing for another strike, Earth's defenders stood firm, united in their will to survive. The first salvo from the alien fleet was massive, shaking Earth's atmosphere as it hit the planet's outer defenses. It was a barrage of relentless energy blasts, each one designed to breach Earth's already weakened shields. For a brief moment, Humanity's will to survive seemed to falter as the full extent of the alien firepower became clear. The once indomitable belief that they could withstand anything now faced the harsh reality of war. Inside Earth's command centers, the situation was dire. General Adams paced back and forth, eyes glued to the holographic map showing the advancing alien forces. His face was taut, his mind racing with possible strategies. This was no longer about just holding the line. The aliens had come with everything they had, and humanity's defenses were being tested in ways no one could have predicted. How long can the shield hold? Adams barked, turning to Dr. Turner, who was analyzing the incoming data. Not long enough, she replied, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. They're pushing our defenses to the limit. If we don't act fast, we'll lose everything. Adams nodded grimly. Earth had no choice but to gamble. Prepare the counterattack. We may not have the luxury of waiting any longer. The alien fleet was relentless, a swarm of ships descending on Earth from every angle. Their overwhelming numbers and superior technology had shaken humanity's confidence, but it wasn't just technology that defined the fight now. It was the heart of the humans who would never stop fighting for survival. In space, the battle raged on. The alien ships, sleek and deadly, unleashed wave after wave of destructive firepower, attempting to breach Earth's final line of defense. But Earth's new strategy, small, agile strike teams, continued to make an impact, weaving through the chaos like a swarm of bees attacking the hornet's nest. Squadrons of human ships darted in and out of the alien fleet, taking out key enemy units with precision, then vanishing before the aliens could retaliate. For every alien ship that fell, humanity's forces celebrated, but it wasn't enough to halt the overwhelming advance. They were winning battles. But the war was far from over. Captain Jordan, leading one of Earth's most skilled squadrons, weaved his ship through the alien fire. His hands were steady on the controls, even as the immense pressure of the conflict bore down on him. Every move mattered now. Earth's survival depended on people like him, and he wasn't about to fail. Lock on target, Captain Jordan ordered, his voice calm but fierce. Fire. The small ship's weapons fired in unison, piercing the alien ship's hull. The alien vessel exploded in a fiery burst, its last moments a testament to humanity's unyielding will. But before Jordan could even feel a sense of relief, the next wave of enemies descended, and the battle continued. There was no time to rest. The war had only just begun. Back on Earth, the situation was just as dire. The aliens' continued assault had begun to cause damage, and cities across the globe were feeling the effects. Entire regions were evacuated as Earth's military forces scrambled to defend every inch of the planet. People, once living their everyday lives, were now facing the unimaginable, an all-out war for survival. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was something more than fear in the eyes of humanity's defenders. There was resolve. There was fire. They had been pushed into a corner, and now they were fighting back with everything they had. The human spirit was a force the aliens had underestimated. General Adams, we need to act now. Dr. Turner's voice rang out through the command center. We can't hold them off much longer without the new weapon. Adams turned toward her, his mind whirring with the possibilities. The new weapon wasn't ready yet, but it was Earth's best hope for surviving the onslaught. Without it, humanity would face certain defeat. We'll need to make a run for it, Adams said, determination in his eyes. Prepare the weapon for deployment. It's our last chance. Meanwhile, deep within the alien command ship, Commander Xyler seethed with frustration. Earth had managed to inflict more damage than he had anticipated. The humans were proving to be much more formidable than he had calculated. Still, he couldn't afford to show weakness. This battle would decide everything. Xyler's fleet had suffered considerable losses, but he wasn't backing down. If anything, the challenge now fueled his resolve. Earth had shown courage. He respected that. But in his mind, that was all it was, courage. The humans still didn't understand the true scale of what they were up against, and he intended to teach them that lesson. "Prepare for a full offensive," Sylar commanded. "This time, we crush them. We show them who rules this galaxy." On the ground, Earth's resistance forces were preparing for what could be the final battle of the war. Civilians were being brought into shelters, military forces were mobilizing, and the world was holding its breath. The battle for Earth's survival was reaching its peak. The message was clear now. Humanity would either rise or fall. There was no middle ground. Dr. Turner, staring at the monitors, knew that the coming hours would be decisive. "This is it," she whispered to herself. "The galaxy will never forget what happens next." The clock was ticking. The alien fleet was closing in on Earth, and time was running out. The final battle had begun, and humanity had one shot to prove that they were more than just an insignificant speck in the universe. The fate of Earth, and the future of all mankind, rested on the shoulders of every person who had chosen to stand up and fight. The battle would be fierce, but humanity would never back down. They would fight, and they would fight until the very last breath. For Earth, for survival, for the future. And as the skies above Earth rumbled with the roar of alien ships descending, the battle cry of humanity echoed louder than ever before, shaking the foundations of the universe. The air was thick with tension. The final moments before the confrontation between Earth's defenders and the alien fleet loomed. Every move, every decision made now, could determine whether humanity would survive or be erased from the galaxy. The war had raged on for weeks, but this was the moment that mattered the most. General Adams stood on the command deck of Earth's flagship, his eyes glued to the holographic displays in front of him. He could see the alien ships approaching, their weapons primed and ready to fire. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but they were not ready to surrender. Not yet. "Status report," Adams barked, his voice sharp. Dr. Turner, seated at a nearby console, quickly ran through the latest data. "The shield generators are at full power, but they're beginning to flicker. We won't be able to hold them off for much longer without the new weapon." Adams clenched his fists. He knew what that meant. The weapon was their last hope, the only thing that could turn the tide. But it wasn't ready yet. "Can we speed up the deployment?" he asked. Turner shook her head. "It's too risky. We need more time for stabilization. But if we wait, we may not have a chance to use it at all." Adams knew there was no time for hesitation. He glanced around at the officers in the room, each one a seasoned fighter in the battle for Earth's survival. The odds were overwhelming, but there was one thing the aliens hadn't counted on: humanity's refusal to give up. "Prepare the weapon for immediate launch," Adams ordered. "We have no choice now." On the surface of Earth, people gathered in shelters, anxiously watching the skies. The day had come. The aliens were in full force, and the fate of humanity rested in the hands of those who had chosen to fight. Among the civilians in hiding, there was a quiet sense of unity. The soldiers and military personnel had done everything they could, but now it was up to everyone to stay strong. Across the world, communities were linked together in the fight against an existential threat. In the thick of it all, Captain Jordan's squadron was preparing for their final mission. The young captain, usually so composed, was now visibly tense as he examined the enemy fleet on his holographic screen. The alien ships were massing, their weaponry primed and ready. "This is it," Captain Jordan muttered under his breath. "We hit them hard, and we hit them fast." He turned to his squadron, all of whom had trained tirelessly for this moment. "Remember, we fight for Earth. We fight for our families. We fight for our future. No matter what happens, we keep pushing forward." With that, the squadron launched into the skies, joining forces with other units in a coordinated attack on the alien fleet. It was humanity's last stand, and there was no turning back. In the depths of space, Commander Xylar watched the human forces assemble. He was used to facing enemies who trembled at his fleet's power, but Earth had proven different. They had shown resilience, and it frustrated him. He knew that his forces were outnumbering Earth's, but their desperation had begun to unsettle him. The humans were not surrendering. They were fighting back harder than ever. The battle for Earth had become a test of wills, and Xylar was beginning to wonder if the humans had more resolve than he had anticipated. "Prepare for a full-scale bombardment," Xylar ordered his fleet. "We will crush them once and for all." But in his heart, Xylar couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't going to be as easy as it had been before. The humans were different. There was something in their eyes, something he had never encountered in any other species. Back on Earth, the weapon, the one humanity had been preparing for this exact moment, was finally ready for deployment. In a secret underground facility, a group of scientists and engineers worked frantically to finish the final adjustments. The tension in the room was palpable. They knew that this weapon could change everything, but it had never been tested on such a grand scale. "Everything's in place," Dr. Turner said as she stood beside the device. "This is our last shot. If it works, we might just have a chance. But if it doesn't, we don't have time to dwell on if it doesn't." General Adams cut her off, his voice grim but determined. "We launch now." Turner nodded. She pressed the final sequence of buttons, and the weapon activated. A massive pulse of energy surged from the Earth's surface, sending a shockwave of raw power directly into the heart of the alien fleet. The effect was immediate. The alien ships faltered, their advanced systems short-circuiting under the unexpected onslaught. For the first time in weeks, the aliens were on the defensive. Captain Jordan, leading the charge with his squadron, witnessed the weapon's impact in the distance. The alien ships seemed to shudder, their once unstoppable assault slowing down. It was their moment. "This is it," Jordan shouted to his crew. "Let's end this." With a renewed sense of hope and purpose, humanity's forces descended upon the alien fleet. Now was the time to strike, while the aliens were disoriented. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Jordan's squadron darted through the enemy lines, striking vital targets and ensuring that the alien fleet would not recover from the assault. The skies were filled with the sounds of battle, the crackle of energy blasts, and the distant explosions of alien ships meeting their end. Humanity was no longer fighting to survive, they were fighting to win. But just as the aliens seemed to be faltering, Xylar's voice rang out through the command ship. "Reinforcements are on their way. Hold your positions. The humans think they've won. But this war is far from over." Xylar was relentless. He wasn't going to back down. He would make sure that the humans paid for every inch of ground they had gained. The war was far from finished. And as the conflict raged on, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The fate of Earth and humanity rested in the balance as the alien fleet, once considered invincible, now struggled to hold its ground. The sudden surge of energy from Earth's weapon had shaken them to their core, but Commander Xylar was not a leader to back down easily. He had led his fleet across galaxies, conquering world after world. But this was unlike anything he had faced before. These humans were different. "Bring in the reinforcements," Xylar ordered, his voice calm, but with an edge of desperation. The pride of his fleet had been wounded, and he knew it. This would be a war of attrition, and Xylar intended to win at all costs. Meanwhile, Earth's forces were preparing for the final push. General Adams stood before the command deck, his eyes locked on the holographic map. The weapon had worked, beyond their expectations, but they could not afford to celebrate yet. The aliens were reeling, but they were far from defeated. "Deploy the secondary fighters," Adams ordered. "We need to keep them on the defensive. The moment they regroup, we'll lose our advantage." Dr. Turner, standing beside him, looked at the map. "If we can hit them hard enough, we can force them into retreat. But if their reinforcements arrive, we're back to square one." Adams knew the stakes. They had one shot to win this war. If they lost this opportunity, humanity's last hope would be gone. Captain Jordan's squadron was engaged in one of the fiercest battles of their lives. His team had been the vanguard of Earth's counterattack, and they had torn through the alien forces with precision. But as the alien reinforcements poured into the battlefield, the tide began to turn again. Jordan's fighters were outnumbered and outgunned, but their resolve was unmatched. "We're not going down without a fight," Captain Jordan said, his voice steady through the comms. "Stay with me, squadron. We have one shot at this." He led his team straight into the heart of the alien forces, weaving through the onslaught of energy blasts. The battlefield was a chaotic dance of lights and explosions, with fighters dodging, diving, and retaliating with everything they had. One by one, the alien ships were picked off, but it was becoming clear that the humans couldn't hold out much longer. Just as they were about to be overwhelmed, a booming voice came through the comms. "This is General Adams. Hold your ground. We've got reinforcements incoming." Suddenly, the sky above Earth's forces was filled with a new wave of ships, human ships, equipped with the latest weapons and technology. It was the turning point they had been waiting for. "We're not done yet," Jordan shouted, feeling a renewed sense of hope. "Let's finish this." In the heart of the alien fleet, Commander Xylar watched in disbelief as the human forces continued to defy expectations. His reinforcements had arrived, yet the humans were holding their ground with an unexpected ferocity. Every move seemed calculated, every strike made with precision. The humans weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting to win. "Commander, we have a problem," one of Xylar's subordinates reported. "The human forces are regrouping. Their weapons seems to have given them an edge. Our ships are taking heavy damage." Xylar clenched his fists. "They should have broken by now. How are they still fighting?" The subordinate hesitated. "It appears their resolve is unbreakable." Xylar gritted his teeth. He had underestimated the humans. It was a fatal mistake. On the ground, in the heart of the planet, the human soldiers were mobilizing for the final stand. Families who had once cowered in fear were now rallying together, standing side by side with the soldiers, ready to defend their homes. The aliens may have had superior technology, but humanity had something far more powerful: unity, determination, and the will to fight for survival. The world was on the brink of destruction, but as the human forces prepared to make their final push, there was a feeling in the air, an unspoken understanding that they would not surrender. They had something to protect, and they would give everything to defend it. As the final battle reached its crescendo, both sides were beginning to show signs of exhaustion. The aliens had underestimated the power of human resolve, and now they were paying the price. Earth's forces were pushing forward, slowly but surely. It was then that Xylar realized something. He had miscalculated. The humans weren't just surviving. They were winning. The alien ships had taken more damage than they could sustain, and their retreat was becoming inevitable. "We've underestimated them, Commander," one of Xylar's generals said, his voice laced with regret. "They've broken through our lines." Xylar's eyes hardened. It's not over. They won't win this easily. But deep down, he knew the truth. The human battle cry was not just a sound. It was the declaration of a people who refused to be defeated. Their spirit had proven stronger than his fleet, and in that moment, Xylar knew that Earth would not fall. It would rise. The battle ended, not with a final explosion or a single blow, but with a slow, inevitable retreat of the alien forces. Earth's defenders, battered but unbroken, stood victorious. The alien fleet, once thought invincible, had been driven off, their forces scattered, and their morale shattered. General Adams stood on the command deck, his face solemn but resolute. "We've won," he said quietly, "but we've paid a heavy price. The war was over, but the cost was great. Humanity had survived, and they had proven something to the galaxy, that no matter the odds, they would never give up. The aliens had thought Earth was weak. They were wrong. And in the aftermath, as the Earth healed and rebuilt, the galaxy would never forget the humans' battle cry, the cry of a species who would never be defeated."